3,900 feet per second plus with the Lehigh Defense 6mm 57 grain controlled chaos, and then I got almost 3,400 feet per second with 85 grain controlled chaos. So when I shot that video a few days ago, I fired 2 rounds off camera, and both rounds I had pierced primers, and I'd never seen that before. I was aware of not so much issues, just a phenomena of shooting non-308 cartridges in the AR10 platform. And I actually had known about JP Enterprises designed a high pressure bolt, which essentially is it utilizes a smaller firing pin diameter wise. Subsequently, the firing pin hole is smaller in diameter as well, which helps in supporting the primer face itself, the part that the firing pin actually contacts to compress the anvil, which in turn sets off the priming compound. So I actually have quick load software, and I started running some numbers. Here is a chamber pressure versus time graph of my AR10 6mm Creedmoor loaded with the 65 grain Lehigh Defense controlled chaos. I'm dropping 45.3 grains of H4350, and I have verified my velocity is 3,365 feet per second, and the chamber pressure showing 58,265. So I thought, okay, no big deal. I mean, I'm way under the 62,000 PSI max chamber spec. And then, just out of curiosity, I ran a typical 308 Winchester, 43.2 grains of Varget, indicated pressure 2,612 feet per second at 59,584 PSI with the Barnes 175 grain match. Now it's kind of interesting. I was going to show screenshots, but one cool feature of Windows 10, you can see how, so I'm going to go ahead and switch back and forth. So there's a 6mm Creedmoor chamber pressure versus time. That's bullet travel time down the barrel. There's a 308 Winchester. So the chamber pressure is, in fact, the 308 is at 59,584. 6mm Creedmoor is at 58,265. But look at those curves. 6mm Creedmoor. Look how much longer the pressure is staying above 50,000 PSI versus a 308 Winchester. The difference between the two cartridges in the same platform, essentially. So what JP Enterprises had discovered, obviously, is that the relative time that the chamber pressure stays above 50,000 PSI is a lot longer for the really not the 6mm Creedmoor, but probably the 6.5mm Creedmoor, and obviously that variant is a 6mm Creedmoor versus a 308. And if you look, so I'll go ahead and let me go ahead and slide down on the picture. So there's a bullet travel time. Okay, so now if we actually look at the bullet travel time, you know, this is in milliseconds. That's 0.2 of a millisecond. That's 0.4 of a millisecond. And you could see that the pressure curve is obviously different. They're not identical. So what is the solution? Well, let's take a look at the actual differences of the JP Enterprises high pressure bolt versus a standard 308 bolt. I'll take some measurements on the firing pin diameter and the ID, or the inside diameter of the firing pin holes. Alright folks, so if we look at the JP Enterprises high pressure bolt on the right versus the stock 308 bolt on the left, you can see the firing pin hole ID is smaller in diameter. And if we look at the firing pins, the JP Enterprises high pressure bolt / firing pin combination on the right, clearly the OD of the firing pin is a lot smaller than the stock, showing 0.081, so 81 thousandths of an inch in diameter. The JP Enterprises high pressure bolt is 0.059, or 59 thousandths of an inch in diameter. We'll measure the JP Enterprises firing pin. I would say 0.0585, so 58.5/10,000ths in diameter, whereas the stock 308 firing pin diameter is 0.077 or 77 thousandths of an inch in diameter. Let's go ahead and I'll get the bolt reassembled. We'll do a couple test firings. Alright folks, going to do a firing test here. Lehigh Defense, 57 grain close quarters, 6mm Creedmoor, 3,963 feet per second. Check for bolt hold open. Bolt hold open. Check the brass. Problem solved. No more protruded firing pins. Alright folks, so what I was trying to explain with the graphs is that you wouldn't think a tenth or maybe 2/10 of a millisecond longer dwell time, that the pressures are exceeding 50,000 psi would make a difference. Obviously they make a difference. The smaller diameter hole on the JP Enterprises high pressure bolt in conjunction with the smaller diameter firing pin, you get more primer face support. You know, it's something that, you know, guys shooting a bolt action you really don't think about, because the bolt action is fully enclosed. It's not a gas impingement system like the AR10s. Looks pretty good. All in all, I'm pretty satisfied with it. Alright folks, it's Nito with AP 2020 Outdoors. Just a quick look at the JP Enterprises high pressure bolt. It's going to work out perfect in conjunction with the JP Enterprises silent captured swing. This is the final step on my 6mm AR10. I think it's going to work out. Remember, support our Second Amendment rights. We'll see y'all later.